This video is for lesson 8.3, writing equations. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to write your own equations from word problems. So before we get started with that, let's just do a review on solving our two-step equations. So take a minute to answer this question. Okay, so for this question, you should have started by subtracting 2 from both sides. 2 minus 2 is 0. We are left with a negative h over 6. Don't forget that minus sign has to be brought down with the h over 6 because we haven't used it yet. So remember, the sign comes in front of the number. We have to bring it down. 10 minus 2 is 8. Then we're going to multiply both sides by a negative 6 over 1. Because we want negative times negative to be positive, and we want the 6's to cancel so that just h is left. And negative 6 times 8 is negative 48. Okay, so we're going to be starting with some word problems here today. There's some positives and negatives to word problems. One of the positives is that word problems often only use positive numbers, and therefore less mistakes can be made with negatives. But one of the downfalls is that you have to come up with your own equation, and that can be a little bit tricky. So when you're writing your own equation from a word problem, there's 4 steps you have to follow. Number 1, write a let statement to define the variable which represents the missing information in the problem. Step 2, write an equation. Step 3, solve an equation. And step 4, write a short, sweet conclusion statement, so a complete sentence. Now, before we get started, you'll notice, like the example that we did at the beginning of the last video, you can do these without writing an algebraic equation. Okay, I call that the elementary way of solving these problems. These are only 2-step problems. These are not that difficult to solve, but we are working on solving these algebraically. So that means you have to write the equation algebraically the way that I show you. If you continuously solve these without writing the equation, then you are not doing what I'm asking you to do in these lessons. So you need to follow these exact steps every time so that you know how to write them algebraically. So this is a different way of solving a problem that you could have solved in elementary school. Okay, so I don't want to see the elementary way you would have solved this. I want to see the algebraic way to solve these. All right, so the problem says you are looking to rent a dirt bike for a day. You have $120 to spend. The rental place charges a flat fee of $60 plus 80 cents for every mile you ride. How many miles can you ride? So the first thing you want to do is write a let statement to define your variable. So you can use whatever letter you want, but we're trying to figure out how many miles you can ride. So I'm going to use the letter M and let M equal the number of miles you ride. Now, number 2, this is the hard part until you get comfortable writing these algebraically. You need to write the equation. So we know that you have a total of $120. So I like to put the total on the end here. So we have a total of $120. We know that they charge you a flat fee of $60 plus 80 cents for every mile. So we're basically translating this into an algebraic equation. So $60 plus, just like it says in the problem, $60 plus, and then 80 cents for every mile. Well, we don't know how many miles, so we use the letter M to represent the number of miles. And 80 cents for every mile is 80 cents times the number of miles you ride. That's how you would calculate that dollar amount. So here is the equation that you have to write. 60 plus 0.80 M equals 120. Once you come up with that equation, step 3 is just to solve it. So just like we did in our 2-step equation, subtract 60 from both sides. You have 0.80 M left on the left 120 minus 60 is 60, and then divide both sides by 0.80. And you have m equals 75 miles. And then our fourth step is just to write a sentence. Quick, short, nothing long. You can ride 75 miles. Let's try another example. 4 friends go to the movies, each pays for their own ticket, but decide to split the cost of a large combo pack evenly between them. Tickets are $9.25 per person. Each spent a total of $15.50. How much is the large combo pack? So the first thing we need to do is write a let statement for the cost of the large combo pack. And I'm just going to abbreviate large combo pack. Step 2 is to write our equation. So we know that the total spent for each person is $15.50. So that's our total per person. We also know that they spent $9.25 per person individually on their tickets. And since this is talking about 4 friends, they each spent a fourth of the large combo pack because they split it evenly. So they each spent $9.25 on their ticket. This is an individual person. And then plus, you can write this a couple different ways. The combo pack divided by 4, or you could write it as 1/4 times the combo pack, or you could write it as 0.25 times the combo pack. So this C divided by 4, you can actually write that 3 different ways. I'm just going to leave it as C divided by 4 for this example. Step 3, we're going to solve our equations and minus 925 from both sides. We have C divided by 4 left on the left side, and we have 625 on the right side, and then we multiply both sides by 4. So that we get C equals $25, which represents the cost of the large combo pack. So we can just write the large combo pack costs $25. Okay, before we move on to the third and final example in this section of your notes, I just want you to pick which equation would represent each of these 3 word problems. So take a minute to answer each of these 3 questions. This first one we know is a total of $23, so we know it equals 23. $5 is the entry fee plus $2 per ride times X rides. So 5 plus 2X equals 23. For the second example, we know that Percy's total is $225. He saved half of his paycheck last month, so you could do X divided by 2, or you could do 0.5X, or you could do 1/2X. Any of those work. Plus, he had 110 for his birthday, so it equals 225. And for the third one, $3 tickets for students, $5 for adults, $1,000 is the total they want to raise. 200 students attend. How many adults must attend? This one's a little tricky because there's a bit of an extra step in there. You actually have to multiply $3 per student times 200 students to get the total amount raised by the students. So that's $600 for the students plus $5 per adult times X adults equals $1,000 total. Okay, our third and final example in your notes for this lesson is at the start of a trip to Washington, D.C., a tour bus had 40 gallons of gas. Each hour, the bus uses 7 gallons. After how many hours will there be 5 gallons left? So the missing information is the number of hours. So let H equal number of hours. And then there's actually two ways you can write this equation. Depending on how you read this, like some people read these questions a bit backwards from others. So I'm going to show you two ways. One way you can write it is by putting the total number of gallons that are remaining on the end. And the other way is that you can put the total number of gallons that the bus holds on the end. If you're doing it this way by putting 5 on the end, that means you're subtracting from the total or from the original amount that the bus had. So you start with 40 gallons and then you use or subtract 7 gallons every hour for H hours. Personally, that's how I read a question like this. And so I typically write that equation, but you can also write that you use 7 gallons every hour plus the 5 gallons that we want left over at the end equal our starting amount of 40 gallons. So both of these equations work. I will show you how to solve either one. You will get the same answer. So to solve them, that's our step 3. For this one, you're going to subtract 40 first. 40 minus 40 is 0. Here's the tricky part about this equation. Don't forget that's a minus 7h, which means we have to bring the negative down. Now you might think, well, wait a second, we're talking about hours. We can't have a negative amount of time. But look what happens. 5 minus 40 also equals a negative. And so when we divide both sides by a negative, all of our negatives cancel and give us a positive. So that still works out. You can still solve it that way. If you do it this way, maybe a little bit easier to solve just because it's all positive, but either one works. For both, you get H equals 5, so our final answer is it will take 5 hours. You could write a longer sentence than that. You could say it will take 5 hours for there to be 5 gallons left if you want to. Okay, so that's our last example in our notes. Let's try these two to see if you can write the equation for these two. So both of these, I believe, have two options. So this first one, it says your aunt gave you 20 pieces of candy. You ate 2 every day. After how many days will you have 10 left? So that's one option. You could also do 2x plus 10 equals 20. Or you could do 10 plus 2x. That doesn't matter what order it goes in because it's addition. Subtraction does matter though. So like you could not do 2x minus 20. So it has to be 20 minus 2x equals 10. For the second one, the distance between two cities is 200 kilometers. The bus travels 75 kilometers per hour. How long will it be before the bus is 15 kilometers from the second city? So you could do 200 minus 75x equals 15, or you could do 15 plus 75x equals 200. Either one of those will work for this problem. Okay, and I think this is our last example. The perimeter of a rectangle is 74 centimeters. Which equation could you use to find the value of x? Remember, perimeter is when you add up all the sides. So if the length is x and the width is 15, you need to add up all of the sides to equal 74. So there's 2 x's and 2 15s, which means that your correct answer there would be B. A does not work because that's only one length and one width. C does not work because that's 2 lengths but only 1 width. And D is area, length times width, which is not what we're looking for.